It's another fine day at Camp Dynasty. I am Counselor Austin, joined by Counselor Collin. And it is draft week, baby.
It's almost unbelievable that how much time flies, but it also feels like it's been a slow crawl at the same time to get here. But yeah, it feels odd that we have finally made it, and it'll be 2 days away by the time this hits your eardrums. So that's pretty sick.
It's Christmas. What did you say it was? Christmas Eve?
Christmas Eve. Because
Yes.
2 days before. So here we are. I mean, for us, it's Eve.
Right.
So we have 3 days to go yet, but time traveler us back in time.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's whatever day it is. It's the most wonderful time of the year. The NFL draft every year. It's just as special as the last year. This year, I have to say, like, we were obviously very in deep with everything, but like the rest of the draft class, like the guys, like the offensive linemen, the corners, like the guys that we're not really watching film on, it took me a little bit longer than normal to get like fully invested in the rest of the class, because I think I was going deeper with our guys than I have in the past. But now over the last couple of weeks, I think I've like fully awoken, and now I'm ready for what we're doing today. Yeah, now I'm super woke. So
yeah, I have like not as strong of a grasp on the non-skill players as I feel like I normally do, but I'll lean on you a little bit for that, a little more than I would. But I'm doing all right, but there's just some names that I'm like, man, I feel like I just don't fully know exactly what this player is.
Well, and I think that's also just a product of the class.
Yeah.
And that's why this mock draft that we're doing is going to be very, I think, vibes based, because we don't really know anything that's going on in the past
Period.
pick.
We don't really know anything.
Mostly for the entire round, but especially after 10, I feel like it just gets to this point where you could take so many players at every single spot and it wouldn't even be insane. And whatever happens on NFL draft day, it's like, well, okay, yeah, I didn't see that coming, but it's not crazy, So yeah. We have our work cut out for us a little bit. I mentioned last week, the NFL mock draft, a little bit self-serving. It's draft week. We want to celebrate. We want to put our mark on it. What do we think is going to happen? Obviously, not an NFL insider, so I don't have the birds in my ear telling me hey, yeah, New Orleans is actually going to go with this guy. But if you notice, all of that came out today. The Schefter article, the Intel piece that came out, the Bruce Feldman Intel piece that came out. So we have very fresh, off the press intel that we're working with for this mock. So I think it might be pretty good.
I hope so. I mean, we're here just trying to figure out what teams are going to do. There's going to be a little bit of our opinion on what they should do. A little bit, I think, of a mix of both. Sometimes it's like, this is exactly how I think it's going to happen. And I think that's a good way to go about things, because that's all the information that we're getting and the best thing we can do. But I think there's got to be a little bit of, well, as much as maybe that's what we're hearing, this is probably where they should go. And so maybe a little bit of that interjected.
Yeah. And as if we haven't talked about them all enough, we will certainly, as we do hit on our campers, the players that we are very invested in this draft, we will spend just an extra second to talk about, okay, if this happens on draft day, what does that mean? Does it change anything and all of that stuff? So we'll put our little spin on things here, but this is really just for fun to see, where we think the class is going. Let us know what you think as, the picks start coming. All of a sudden we draft X in a place where you're like, no, that's 20 picks too early. Just throw it down in the comments. Let us know. That's what mock drafts are all about. Mm-hmm. It's all about the hateful comments. So
yeah, we're okay with being wrong. We're okay with you guys being wrong, and be ready to jump on whoever. Yeah. The comments below. I don't think the Bears are going to take Will Campbell to play guard. They just signed 2 guards, and then everybody jump on him. Be like, Will Campbell can play tackle.
So right before we start here, I do want to ask you this question because I've been thinking about this. Do you think, and this is going to be a little counterintuitive to what we're doing today, do you think there are too many mock drafts in the world these days? Because so my argument for this, or why I think this is maybe true, is that back in the day, like 10 years ago, it was like a very like niche thing. Like you'd get the Mike Mayock mock, the Kuiper mock, Matt Miller was just starting Bleacher Report mocks, that was happening. And then it was like the OG draft sites were putting out their mocks. Now it is every single major outlet, but then like 8 of their writers are putting out their own mocks. So it's like, it's not even the draft guy anymore that's putting out the mock. It's like the draft guy and then the NFL guy and then the free agent specialist and then the college guy. Like everybody puts out their own mock now. Do you think we've gotten to a point where it's too much?
I'm on NFL.com looking at just DJ's mock, and they have 12 mocks just on this bar from all different writers. Like these are not versions of DJ's mocks. These are all different. And one's like Maurice Jones-Drew. It's like, I don't, but to answer your question, yes, there's too many mocks, but at the same time, like there could never be too many mocks because the more mocks there are, the more likely there is to be the one mock that has it right. Just like the March Madness brackets. It's like, 72.5 million brackets were submitted and none are correct every single year. And I think that's going to be the same thing with the mocks. It's like, can you get 32 picks correct and like trades correct and this? Like, no, you can't, but I'm going to keep trying. Like I had a college classmate and he would do like 50 leading up to the draft. He would do one, like maybe more than that. He would do like one a day, every day at least. And he'd be like, well, this is the one I would do if like this happens and like if this happens and like every permutation of what could possibly happen. And then like, hey, eventually you have one that you have 18 picks correct in the first round. You feel pretty good, but like, I don't know. Yes, there's too many mocks, but it's a lot of fun. So who really cares, you know?
That I do like when it's like the permutation of the mock where it's not just like, here's what I think's going to happen. It's like this is what I would do. Or like, this is if every team picked a player that they are never getting mocked. Like if we don't do a cliche pick for every team or like something like that, where it puts a little fun spin on it, even if it's not like for real, like you're not like actually predicting or anything.
And then there's like, oh, well, if I think, Ashton Genty's going to go 6 to the Raiders, it's like, okay, but in a world where that doesn't happen, this is my next mock. And like, now they take O-line. And so right after our conversation about are there too many mock drafts from the non heavyweights of the industry, let's do our own mock drafts. Right. But all right, let's have some fun with this. We are starting pick number 1, the Tennessee Titans. This pick is locked in stone at this point. Yeah, this is Cam Ward, and I think maybe there were questions at one point of like, I don't know, it could be Carter, it could be blah, blah, blah. When Cam Ward goes on streaming Fortnite and says Treylon Burks and Calvin Ridley are 2 of the top 4 receivers in the NFL, and Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears are 2 of the top 5 running backs in the league, I think that gives you a little hint, and all signs point to Ward being number 1.
Yeah, I mean, he did it right. Like, props to him. That's what you should do.
Yep.
Just a few players from last year.
What you should do?
But yeah, so I mean, Cam Ward, we can spend just a second on this because I think it's been a little, I would say a little bit contentious with Ward because I think we are just lower on him, pure talent in a vacuum versus the rest of the class. That manifested when we did Superflex rankings, and he was not, even if when we were assuming he would be the first overall pick, we still had him ranked fairly low. You did not even include him in your first round at that point in time. And so when we got to one quarterback last week, it was like probably no surprise that he was right at the end of the second round for both of us. So again, it's like he's going first overall, and that's fine. But I think we are all, or should be all, on the same page of like, this is not the same quarterback class as last year or many other years. Just because somebody goes number one overall doesn't necessarily mean that they have the talent to warrant a high dynasty draft pick.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think Cam Ward will be a solid quarterback. I just think that the floor is pretty low for a player with this style. I said on our one quarterback rankings that his ceiling is Matt Stafford, and it's a guy that can't move a ton and like throws for a lot of yards and a lot of touchdowns, and like that's his peak. And while could that happen? Yeah, but that's not the expected outcome. I think he ends up being a guy that's getting you like 16, 18 fantasy points. And like, that's fine, but I'm not going to take him over a lot of these more dynamic skill players.
Well, maybe it's time to talk about one of those players that's going much, much higher than Cam Ward in a dynasty rookie draft. But we are on the Cleveland Browns at number 2. So I feel like, let me know if you disagree with this, right, but I feel like we've gotten to a point where it has become very clear that they intend to select Travis Hunter with the second overall pick.
Yeah, I feel like that's what they should be doing. I wouldn't be surprised if this went a different direction, because like that's kind of the nature of this. Is number 1 feels like it's set in stone. Number 2 could be weird because the Browns do need a quarterback. And like, if they like Shedeur enough, they could go that way. Travis Hunter is obviously a one-of-one talent. And then like Abdul Carter is also a blue chip guy. So I think this could go a couple different ways. I could see it going either Hunter or Carter. But I would rather they take Travis Hunter. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah, the GM, Andrew Berry, has been pretty vocal recently about Travis Hunter, which has led many people to believe that this is, in fact, going to be the match here. I'm with you. Like, I do think there's an argument either way with Hunter and Carter. I think for the Browns, I mean, Travis Hunter makes a ton of sense, and it also seems like they are very open to the idea of him playing both ways. And he has not backed down on his stance of playing both ways. He's actually doubled down on that. So as long as the team is, vocally coming out already and saying we are comfortable with that, and that's what he wants to do, this could be the fantasy gold mine that we were talking about last summer as a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely. This would be ideal if he's kind of set loose and able to play both ways. I think that's what he wants. I think that's, if you take him number 2, that's what you're doing. That's what you intend on doing with him. I don't think you're going to just take this guy and stick him at corner or stick him at receiver, because I don't think he's a number 2 overall talent at, one of those positions. But if you're planning on playing him at both, I think you absolutely have the guy here for that.
So then number 3, the New York Giants. I'm interested to hear your take on this. I am getting the sense that they will select Abdul Carter because, first of all, he is the best player on the board. And that, I mean, I don't think that's very debatable at this point. But the question would be, you have Brian Burns and you have Kayvon Thibodeau. Do you take Abdul Carter, or would you potentially go quarterback? Like, this could be interpreted as a reach for Shedeur Sanders, though they have done extensive work on him. That has been reported. But I think, to me, those would be the only 2 options. And I think at this point, Carter I mean, to pass on Carter for a player like Shedeur, it would be asinine, in my opinion.
I agree. I think Carter would be the right pick here. I just don't think you do it when there's a quarterback on the board, because like then you're waiting till round 2. Like, they don't have a quarterback. That's the real of it all. Like it's
Russell Wilson
and Jameis.
Jameis.
So like, unless they are cool with bridging it for a year, and maybe they're bad, but maybe like Russ brings them to 6 wins, and then they're picking 9 next year. Like, I don't know if I want to take that risk, but I also like don't know if I want to take the risk with Shador. So like,
right.
would you rather bank on being bad and like just rolling the dice on Arch Manning and then seeing what happens? I'd rather take the better prospect and get better players. Give me Abdul Carter, but I'd understand why they go after Shador because they're scared.
Yeah, and it feels like there's been this late sort of momentum with the Giants and Sanders. Some speculate, could that be ownership getting involved at the 11th hour to be like, we need to make a move here for this quarterback prospect that may leave something to be desired, but he has gravitas. He has the
Aura.
whole aura. Yes. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think, to your point, and I've heard this as well, like, if they love Shador, or at least like have belief in Shador to be the guy, you have to take him at number 3. Like, you don't have another option.
Yes.
Because the other option would be like trying to get cute and like trade up from the top of the second, but you might have to get into the top 20 to make that happen. So like, that's not really a viable thing to do when you sit at number 3. So would they take a quarterback at the top of the second in this case? And I feel like that's more realistic, but it is going to be interesting to see what happens. But we will take Abdul Carter here.
And this is worst case scenario for the Patriots here.
So, and this, I feel like we're at a point now where I feel like this is where the draft really begins. Maybe we are all being taken for a bit of a ride already, but it does feel like the Ward, Hunter, Carter top 3 is locked in that order at this point. Number 4, I feel like can go
I don't feel that way, by the way. I'm not co-signing that opinion that
you
it feels
do not
locked in. I feel like it's still up in the air of like Shador could absolutely find their way in there. Abdul Carter could find his way to 2. Like, I think there's a lot of different versions. I think the only thing we know for sure is Ward is 1. I think that's the only thing that I feel very confident that I'm willing to like put my stamp of approval on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this number 4 pick, I am now joining you in the I don't think I know what's happening here camp. My gut for the last several days has been that they will just take Will Campbell here. I think there's been some buzz about Armand Membu potentially being the first offensive lineman off the board, and in this case, that would make sense for New England if they preferred, if they trust that Membu can play out as a tackle more than Campbell. But I honestly, like, there's so many things that lead me to believe that the Patriots, and specifically the new, the Vrabel era of the Patriots, will not care about the, arm length stuff and all of that. Like, Vrabel was there. We talked about this when the Titans selected Peter Skoronski. This was a very similar conversation at that point in time. They took him anyway in the top 10
Good
or
guard.
Just outside. Yeah. So, I mean, and that's the thing. They just signed Morgan Moses to presumably play right tackle. You can put Will Campbell at left tackle, and if that doesn't work out, you can just put him at guard. They need all of those spots. They can use an improvement. Certainly a player of this caliber is an improvement across the line. So I still think Will Campbell would be the pick here.
I think that it'd be smart for them to go to Will Campbell. I wouldn't be like shocked if they go defense and just go like Jalen Walker and roll the dice on like a good edge rusher versus a guy that you might have like if they have those questions of will he be a tackle or a guard, and you don't want to spend number 4 on a guy that's going to end up playing, left guard for you. I understand. Like I get that, but I think that number one, I think Campbell can just play tackle. He's been playing tackle his whole life. He was playing tackle in the SEC and he was dominant. Now, I understand the NFL is different than college. I understand that the NFL is harder than the SEC, but that's the closest we have. And he was like one of the best tackle prospects we've seen in a little while. So, like, why not just say, hey, let's give this a shot? And so I think they would go Will Campbell here.
All right, let's lock it in. Will Campbell, number 4. Now it gets really fun because just in time for this episode, the reports have come out that the Mason Graham to Jacksonville connection, which had become very chalky, is maybe not so set in stone as it's been made to appear. And now all of a sudden today, it's Ashton Genty's name is in the conversation. They like Tetero McMillan, apparently. Like, there's all sorts of fun names now that are connected to them. But what do you make of the Jag spot?
I have no idea what to think of the Jag spot. This is like they should go defense and just like shore up their trenches and but I don't mind getting more weapons for like Trevor Lawrence and supporting your franchise quarterback because they've already extended him. They got Brian Thomas, who was a hit, and they don't really have anything outside. Like, they're okay outside of Brian Thomas, but there's no real difference maker. ETN was pretty mid last year. Tank Bigsby had flashes, but like, I don't know if you go and triple down on running back with Genty. I wouldn't mind Tetero McMillan, but like, there's such a wide range of outcomes with him where like, could he go 5 overall when maybe he could go like 28? Like that feels kind of wild, but I just feel like they gotta go like D line and put some, but I don't know. They have so many needs that like they could do so many things and it would be right for their team.
I still am very married to the idea of the Bears trading up to this spot. Like, this was my Diablo
I do
take
like it
on spicy predictions, but like I just feel like if you're in the Bears position with the 2 picks at the top of the second round and you can just pay a single pick in that spot and get your guy, get Ashton Genty, the player that it feels like they have been posturing for with the moves that they've made and with the reports that are, surfacing about kind of their interests in this draft class. I feel like it makes sense. And I feel like if Jacksonville is not tied to the idea of taking Mason Graham here, you can trade down to number 10. I mean, Tetero McMillan might be available at number 10. It's seeming more and more likely by the day that he will be available if they move down to number 10. So I don't hate the idea of making a trade right here. Should we do it?
Should we go, 10 and 41 for 5, or is it 10 and 39?
So I was thinking 10 and 39, and then the Jags also send 126 back.
Okay. I think so that makes sense.
That is, in slight favor for the Jags according to the draft pick value chart, even with throwing that pick back. So I feel like you give them the higher pick, you get a pick back, and it's all good.
So now the Bears are on the clock.
So the Bears are on the clock.
And they keep a high second round pick at 41, so they can address another need, but this would be to take Ashton Genty away from the Raiders, right?
Yes, they are jumping the Raiders, who have, Pete Carroll, don't say too much, John, at the press conference. Like, if they don't actually want Genty, they're doing a hell of a job of like smoking that they want Genty. So in this case, it works. The Bears jump up. I mean, I get it, man. You're trading up for a running back. but this is Ashton Genty,
Mhm.
and this is, Ben Johnson making a stamp or putting his stamp on things and saying, we're going to do this, with elite offensive pieces at my disposal.
Yeah.
And I think that is a great move, and it's worth the price that it takes to get up here.
I think that this definitely makes sense, especially when you look at their offseason holistically and everything that they've done to support their offense with the offensive line signings that they made. And then they didn't touch any of their skill groups really. And so attack skill groups in the draft to get some guys to come up with Caleb Williams. And, we obviously don't have a very high opinion on Swift and company. Like that's not really it didn't seem like a viable backfield last year. You can ask Bears fans.
Nor does Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
Because he already had DeAndre Swift on his team and said, we're drafting Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah. And shipped him off to the Eagles. So
yes.
that's where we're at, is like, we can bring in an elite producer at running back. Let's just get him back there and give him 20 something carries a game, turn this into a team that can dominate in December, January potentially, and be a cold weather football team. Even though they build a dome.
I don't know what they're
Makes
doing.
Makes me sick if they are.
They can't. I mean, they'll lose any respect that I had, like a mutual rivalry respect.
Yeah,
it would all be gone from that point.
So
on.
If they do that, they're frauds. But
yeah, yes.
I think with Ashton Genty, they'll still be fine.
All right, so the Bears make the big move. They are, in fact, the team that selects Genty, even if they aren't jumping up to 5. If he were to fall to 10, let me just say this is still my favorite spot for Genty in the draft. This was our perfect match for him. I still feel that way, and I, as a Packers fan, hope it doesn't happen, but as a dynasty player, I do hope it happens because this would be ideal.
Right. That's how I felt about Caleb Williams last year, and he did bad, so maybe.
Well... All right, the Vegas Raiders are on the clock at number 6. If they wanted Genty, he is now gone.
Got sniped.
I don't know that even if Genty was here, that I would be pounding the table for them to do it. I think they could stand to upgrade their offensive line before getting super cute and drafting a running back in the top 6. However, Mason Graham being on the board here does complicate things. My mind is between Graham and Membu at this point. What do you think?
That's where I'm at too. Beef up D-line or beef up O-line. That's how you end up winning. I think you attack O-line early when there's a prospect like Membu who, maybe he's in conversation as the number 1 tackle in this draft. If you view Will Campbell as a guard, then he's definitely the number 1 tackle in this draft. So he's likely at the top of their board, at the top of their O-line board. So I say shore up O-line, and Graham maybe sliding a little bit more than you'd like him to, but I don't think this is an inappropriate move.
No, I don't think it's inappropriate to let Graham go here. I mean, they're starting right tackle is a 3rd round pick from last year, DJ Glaze. I don't know. I don't know that you necessarily feel super confident in DJ Glaze moving forward. So, and there has literally been quotes from John Spytek saying they want to bring in competition for the right tackle spot. Maybe that just comes in the form of a top 6 pick. So
TJ Glaze has the 79th highest PFF pass blocking grade.
79th highest?
Yeah. So real bad.
So I was like, that doesn't sound good.
No.
Okay. So we're going Membu here. And I like this because you do not see Mason Graham fall out of the top. So where the hell is Membu on the simulator?
He's number 9.
Oh, there he is. So in this case, the Jets, who have been routinely linked to Armand Membu themselves, and if not Membu, typically linked to Tyler Warren, now have the option to select Mason Graham. So would you take Mason Graham if you're the Jets over a player like Tyler Warren?
When you have Quinnen Williams That's a little bit complicated, like,
But
yeah,
what
you take
about
them.
2?
Yeah, exactly. Why not 2 Quinnen Williams?
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, like, it's talent over need. Like, that's the big question in the draft in general, is talent versus need. When a player like this comes to you, well, I guess, like, Tyler Warren's not bad. So, like, and you need offensive help. Um, Man, I don't hate Tyler Warren here still.
I don't either, but I feel like
Like, DJ has Mason Graham going outside of the top 7. Like, it's not crazy.
no, it's definitely not. It's one of those things where I think when a certain player gets a certain draft spot and it becomes like the cliche, then it's like when the draft doesn't go the way that you think it's going to go and Mason Graham doesn't go 5, like what happens to that player at that point? And I
Yeah.
think then it starts to feel like, oh, he's falling down the board. It's
Yeah.
getting crazy. Stop the slide. But I don't think it's insane that they would pass on him here.
I want Tyler Warren.
What?
I said I want Tyler Warren.
You want Tyler Warren
I
here?
want Tyler Warren. Ooh, they got Garrett Wilson as a pass catcher.
Yeah.
Who's their second best pass catcher right now? Right.
Yeah, all right, fine.
Is Alan Lazard
fine.
Still there?
You don't.
Did A-Rod leave him behind? Was he at the meeting with Aaron Glenn?
He's in Aaron Rodgers' inner circle, so we don't know what he's doing yet.
At the retreat.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's. Who cares, man? Tyler Warren. Let's do it. I mean, it would not be.
Oh, Malachi Corley. Oh my God.
Oh my God. How could you forget?
Alan Lazard is allegedly still on the roster.
I don't believe he shows up. Like, he might be on the roster, but he's not showing up to the building.
All right, so we're going Tyler Warren here for sure.
Yeah. We locked in Tyler Warren to the Jets, number 7. The Carolina Panthers. This is one that is like, it's a no doubt defense pick for me. I think, like, in the chalk mock version that where like Graham is not here, I think Jalen Walker is sort of the player that has been linked to Carolina, and I think that, is something that could happen on draft day for sure. But in this case, I would be shocked if they didn't take Mason Graham.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the Mason Graham spot in this scenario. He kind of quote unquote slides a little bit, and it's still, I mean, top 8 pick isn't so bad, and you get to shore up, run defense and even a little bit of pass rush with Mason Graham here with an interior D lineman sitting next to Derek Brown, who's also really good. So I like this for them.
So the New Orleans Saints, this has been one that has given me a lot of fits when I'm trying to think about what do I think is going to happen here. I mean, it's a team with a lot of needs. It's a team that could draft a quarterback, but it doesn't feel like that's what's going to happen. The reporting from Adam Schefter is that he does not expect the Saints to take Shedeur Sanders here if he's available. And in that case, what direction do you think they go?
I think you go with the next most valuable asset, and that's your edge player, and go like Jalen Walker. Like, I think that's what makes the most sense in their context. You got a guy that it's just such an odd team in the, like, team building in general is just kind of awkward, and you don't, like, you could plug in a quarterback, but like the rest of the team like isn't ready to support a rookie quarterback. And I think you just get an edge. You plug them in, you give them some time to develop, and you got to build the trenches. This is one way to do it.
Yeah, I keep coming back to edge with this pick, despite the fact that they did bring back Chase Young on like an absurd deal, 3-year, $51 million contract. They do have Carl Granderson there. I don't know what his contract is at this point. Cam Jordan in the twilight of his career. Like, there's names there, but I feel like
there's just nobody as dynamic as like Walker.
Right. In this case, like I don't know that I necessarily agree with the reports of Jalen Walker being like a sort of top 10 lock in this class, but I think in this case for the Saints, it makes sense to roll the dice with a player like Walker.
Who else would you think would be
so
in play?
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about McMillan here, certainly. I don't get the vibe that that's going to happen, but I mean, it would make total sense for them to take a wide receiver at this spot. Corner is the other position that I look at for them. I just don't know what to believe about Will Johnson and where he's going to go. It feels a little high for Jahdae Barron. And also, if they're going to play Barron at nickel, are you going to take him in the top 10? So that's why I always sort of end up coming back to edge with, like, in many cases, if the Panthers take Jalen Walker, then I go for a player like Shamar Stewart, who just feels like their type through and through.
Right.
Big. I mean, and that's why I think Mykel Williams also like would make sense here, just because he is more of their type as a bigger edge player. But I don't know if they take him over Walker.
Right.
All right. Let's just go Jalen Walker here.
I think it makes the most sense.
The Saints are always doing some kind of weird shit, so it doesn't even pay to try to
trade up for Genty. They're the team.
Yes. Yes. All right, so then the Jacksonville Jaguars here at number 10 after trading down with Chicago. I honestly want to take Tetairoa McMillan here.
I like it. I think it makes a ton of sense with their wide receiver room, their team building, trying to support a quarterback, build up some skill guys while they have a lot of needs, like we said when they were up at 5. I think like nailing down a really good, really productive wide receiver makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I mean, McMillan is him and Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, what a 1-2 for a team that is just like, you know, wasn't that long ago that it was Christian Kirk and, you know, whatever else bodies.
Calvin Ridley.
Well, okay.
Calvin Ridley like 1 year post suspension.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Tetairoa McMillan to the Jags. I mean, hey, that'd be for fantasy purposes.
I would like that a lot.
That'd be a great spot. I mean, I think we're at the point where it's almost like he's probably gonna be more of like a 2. Like it feels like all the spots he's connected to at this point is like Dallas and maybe Jacksonville. Like, and that's fine. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. High end 2 is still very productive for fantasy. We're good.
Yeah. The 49ers at pick 11. A team that is, you know, the dynasty or the attempt at a dynasty, I suppose, is over. And they are now kind of pressing the reset button. There's a lot of needs here. I'm looking at the defensive side of the ball, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking at the defensive side of the ball as well. I'm looking at their cornerback room, to be specific, and there's not a lot of names that I, 1, recognize or 2, fear in any way. So it's like Diamador Lenore is a good player and like he's on the roster, but outside of that, it's a lot of guys, and I wouldn't mind having like Will Johnson in this room or Barron for that matter. Like there's a lot of ways they could go, I think, in their DB room. Even like Malachi Starks, I wouldn't hate, even if like he's playing safety. Like I just think you need somebody over the top to help out this cornerback room.
Yeah. I've thought about edge for them here.
I wouldn't hate that either.
I've definitely thought about corner as well, though. And honestly, It's sort of a weird range. Does anybody want to trade up here? I feel like once you get out of the top 10, it's like, why does anybody want to trade up? Like,
Right.
who are you jumping? Who are you trying? Like, because every, the tier is so flat.
If someone really wants like Matthew Golden, like he's been connected to the Cowboys a little bit.
Jihad Campbell potentially trade up target.
Yeah,
maybe.
that potentially for sure. But I don't know. I think those are like a couple guys that somebody might really like. Starks, good playmaker, and like the Dolphins could use the safety. Like maybe you try to jump them, but I also think like maybe you just take Will Johnson.
Maybe we just take Will Johnson. I think the reports, it's a classic draft scenario where the more athletic player is getting the, like, he's going to go higher than you think he's going to go with Barron. But, like, I don't think Barron needs to be a top 15 pick necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't think Johnson is a lock for the top 15 either, but I would bet on Johnson more at this point. So
I mean, big rangy corner, good ball skills. Like he's not going to be limited to playing slot corner. I think that really matters. Like,
yeah.
So,
all right, Will Johnson to the 49ers at pick 11, the Dallas Cowboys at pick 12. We are not taking Matthew Golden here. Am I correct?
Not. I will die before I let that happen.
So I'll tell you the player that I really like in this spot, and that's Jihad Campbell. What do you think about that?
I think that they could absolutely use more athleticism on that defense, especially. I mean, they have a lot of like tweener guys on their defense, and tweener meaning like linebacker safety kind of tweeners. But I think like having another freak with like Micah Parsons and just like flying around, getting sideline to sideline, helping them with their run defense, like you might have looked at their offense and been like, man, this looks terrible. Their defense was also like not pretty. So I'm all in on that.
Before we lock that in, do you consider Omari and Hampton here?
You consider it for sure. Like you talk about it, have the conversation. But I think you wait until the second round because of how deep the running back class is and get, a position that isn't as deep with Campbell or whoever else you end up going with.
All right, let's go Jihad Campbell here. I like the spot a lot for him. Locks him in easy. LB1, maybe mid-high sort of second round dynasty rookie pick even in this spot. The Miami Dolphins at pick 13. This has been such a weird pick to follow along with in mock drafts because I keep seeing the Nick Emanwari pairing for them here, which I guess isn't insane.
Why wouldn't they take Starks over Emanwari?
So I guess that's why it's kind of weird. I feel like we've now gotten to this point where like big draft media is suddenly telling us like Emanwari is going to be safety 1 and he's going to go top 20. And I just feel like that was such a leap from where we were pre-combine. And obviously the combine had something to do with that, but
yeah,
I mean, I like Emanwari a lot. It just, I feel like we've lost the plot a little bit with him and Starks.
Yeah, the Dolphins, I mean, they lose Javon Holland in free agency. So, like, this is absolutely a spot that they need to fill. But I think Starks fills that role better than Emanwari does. I think, like, if you're talking about a guy that can get plugged in and, be a similar or the same player, like, I think that's where you're at with Starks.
And I'll tell you one thing. I actually don't think I prefer safety here over offensive line.
I mean, help Tua out, man.
Yeah. Like I feel like the secondary is getting a lot of attention and for good reason. Jalen Ramsey expected to be traded. This could be corner. They certainly need safety help. Could be safety. The offensive line needs help too. I mean, this is a team, Mike McDaniel, it is built on running the football. And like they did not do that at a high level last year because they weren't blocking at a high level
Right.
last year. So my mind here goes to a player that has some tackle guard versatility and is also, within the value range at this spot. And that player for me would be Calvin Banks from Texas.
Yeah, I could absolutely seeing them go in that direction. They've invested in O-line, and it has and hasn't worked out to different degrees. Um, I think that'd be a good idea. Just you can patch holes in your secondary again, like a little later, while there's not like the high end talent that there is here with Starks or Barron that you could go after. I think that there is some good high end O line too, and it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit more help up front for not only your run game but your pass game too, because you see those time to throw numbers. It's not just because Tua sucks and has to get the ball out in 2 seconds. It's also because like a lot of times he has to, and that O line's not doing many favors. There's a reason he's had 3 concussions, and sometimes he's getting tossed to the dirt.
All right, let's go Banks here.
So Banks.
Get some protection up front. So the Indianapolis Colts at pick 14, the cliche, the way too easy pick here would be Colston Loveland. It feels like we've gotten to a point where every single mock draft has the Colts either taking Warren if he's available or taking Loveland if he's not. I personally don't think it's that clear cut. Like, I feel like there are other needs on this Colts team, even though tight end is certainly one of them. But I feel like you have a lot of pass catchers there that you've invested in over the last couple of years. However, is the talent too much with Loveland?
Probably. Like you have, just looking at who you have Mo Alley Cox, you have Jelani Woods, Ogletree, Albert O. It's a pretty nasty tight end room to just be like, yeah, this is who we want. When Anthony Richardson is taking his snaps and he's going to play at his best, these are the guys that are going to be catching the football. I feel like that's not ideal, and I'd rather have Loveland in this scenario. Now, there are definitely a lot of positions of need here, but nothing that's like as glaring as that, because they brought Cam Bynum in, and they have Nick Cross. They have a couple good corners. They brought some guys in also in the corner room. Their linebackers are solid, so like maybe you don't touch defense, and then you look at the offensive side and it's like O-line or tight end. Just get the guy that is kind of in a tier on his own right now in the tight end room.
Yeah, I'm down for Loveland. I think the talent is supreme, and I think even if this gets a little messy for like how do these targets get distributed amongst the Michael Pittman, Josh Downs,
the 14 targets.
Yeah, that too. So it's not my favorite fantasy landing spot, that's for sure. But we'll go Loveland here. Pick 15, the Atlanta Falcons. Every single year, the Falcons need a pass rusher.
Yeah, can we get him a goddamn edge?
Word on the street is that the guy that they like here, and the guy that I would like here as well, is Mike Green.
I would love Mike Green.
So, easiest pick of the draft.
Let's just take Mike Green.
Let's take Mike Green.
Mike Green's a freak.
Yeah.
Of nature.
As long as all of the interview character stuff checked out with him, which
I want him to be a fucking menace, is what I want, actually. So
right.
I hope it works out, and he's the worst.
All right, Mike Green to the Falcons. The Cardinals at pick 16. This is another pick that I've gone a number of different directions on. I think it's always on the defensive side, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do with the Cardinals offense, but I think what they need most on offense is a wide receiver across from Marvin Harrison. They could use a little O-line help, absolutely, but they need players on defense bad. So you look at like the things they tried to do last year where it was all it was a lot of smoke and mirrors with that defense and a lot of, Buda Baker cleaning up messes. I think get some help, get some real talent. Stop like trying to make Zaven Collins work. Like, let's get some real talent here. Who is the real talent is the question, because I think you got to get it up front. I think that or linebacker maybe. Like, I don't know. Like Shamar Stewart makes sense. Michael Williams makes sense. One of those guys.
Yeah, I've the Michael pairing with them. I've liked that a lot. I mean, they took Darius Robinson last year, and you're getting. I mean, it's a similar in terms of the physical profile with a bigger player that's playing off the edge. But obviously, Michael would hopefully be a bit of an upgrade over a player like Robinson.
I hope so.
But
also Darius Robinson's like 290.
Yes.
So like he can also.
It's a very different, very different profile. They can move Robinson inside. I think the other names here that I would be considering are like interior defensive linemen, like a Walter Nolan or potentially my God, I just lost the name. The Oregon player. Oh my God. Derek Harmon. Oh my God. Jesus.
It's okay.
So those would be the other names that I'm looking at here, but I think in this case we can go Michael Williams.
What do you think of somebody like Gray Sable? It's too early for guard.
I don't think it's too early. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah.
I feel like you just gotta go defense here.
Yeah.
Like they need help in a bad way. I wouldn't hate corner here either. I wouldn't hate Barron here.
We're going Michael, you said?
But yeah, let's go Michael Williams.
Okay. I think that's a good idea. Bengals?
The Bengals
cut their entire offense.
Yes. The offense is running it back. The defense
could use Jahdae Barron.
Could use one of these interior rushers we just mentioned, such as Derek Harmon, whose name I forgot, but he's a great player. Kenneth Grant would also be another interior player they could add up front.
Just looking to see. I guess they kind of have some interest. They have like Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt, so I don't know if Jahdae makes sense here as a slot guy.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer to go trenches with them.
Yeah. Let's see.
Like, honestly, I wouldn't hate like a player like Zabel here.
Right.
Like interior offensive line could certainly
I
be.
was thinking.
They
brought in Lucas Patrick, who like is he? I don't know. He's not that good.
Let's see. Who have they had visits with? They visited with quite a few defensive linemen, but the only one that we're talking about here that they visited with is Walter Nolan. Now, that's not the visits are not an all-inclusive type of deal, where if they didn't meet with him, they're not going to take him, but I could see that.
Also, it makes sense. It's like their interior D-line. BJ Hill is pretty solid. They brought in Slayton, who is not very good, speaking from a person that's watched a lot of Packer games. And then it's, Chris Jenkins, who is, not bad. But like it wouldn't hurt to have a real disruptor.
Could put Chris Jenkins' former teammate next to him, Kenneth Grant.
Yeah,
that's how drafting works, right?
I think that's how it worked like a couple of years ago. And it was just like, yeah, let's get Joe Burrow his teammate, let's get Trevor Lawrence his teammate, let's get.
Fuck it, I'm convinced. We're taking Kenneth Grant. All right, pick 18 to the Seahawks. This has been very, very heavy Zabel across many mocks that I've read. What do you think about that?
I mean, their interior O-line was putrid last year. So I'm all in on helping them out as much as you can.
All right.
Sure.
It works for me. I'm in. Gray Zabel.
Gray Zabel.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers at pick 19. I'm thinking edge for them.
I feel like that makes sense. Let's see real quick. Okay, so the Steelers are coming up at pick 21.
Yes.
If anybody is going to take Shedeur Sanders, it's going to be the Steelers. So if anybody needs to trade up to get Shedeur Sanders, does that happen here? I don't know. I'm just proposing it as an idea because obviously all these teams have quarterbacks that are, these are the teams that were in the playoffs that lost, and like other than the Vikings, they all have guys that are signed on deals, but the Vikings just drafted McCarthy. So does anybody try to jump into the first round, get back into the first round? I don't know. This might be too early, but I just wanted to propose it as a thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not out of the question because of the fact that the Steelers are sitting there, but to me it feels steep. Like we talked about the Giants. Are you really going to trade up from 34 to get to 19 when you just had the chance to take them at pick 3? I don't know. The Browns would be the from 33, but I personally don't think that happens.
Yeah, I think if you don't take them at 3, you're just waiting until your next pick to take them. But just needed to see like how expensive is it going to be to trade, and like does Tampa Bay want to trade back to 33,
right,
to make their next pick and like get a bunch of day 2, day 3 picks? Probably not, but like this is your last chance to probably get Shedeur Sanders if you want him bad enough. So just had to bring it up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like any team that moved back that like they'd be getting a future one.
Yeah.
So, but in this case, if we don't move back, I'm thinking edge here. I mean, there's certainly some names on the board that are becoming increasingly enticing at this spot of the draft, like Shamar Stewart. I mean, I like Ezraku. I know you like Ezraku too. James Pierce, I think it's become a weird one because it seems more character related for him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I still love the talent that Pierce has, but I don't know how high he's going to go on draft day.
I think we go Shamar Stewart here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
And now Omarion Hampton gets to get drafted.
Yeah, lock it in, right? I mean, too easy.
Too easy.
And a hell of a spot.
And then we get to take Shedeur Sanders.
So, but let me ask you this:
do
you think that they would actually take him here?
I do. I think like there's a world where he goes 3 to the Giants, and I think if that were like we're obviously not in that world in this mock, then he goes 21. I think like it makes sense in terms of like team building for the Chargers to do this, where they are maybe like makes sense, quote unquote, of like we need a quarterback. We haven't, we tried our Kenny Pickett thing, and then we tried the cheap veteran thing. Neither worked. Now let's try the Kenny Pickett thing, but with Shedeur Sanders, who I think is more, he's kind of the same as Kenny Pickett, but I think he has a higher ceiling than Pickett for sure. I think like where he's at now is a little better than where Pickett was when he came in, and his ceiling's higher than Pickett. I think he's got more tools in the belt. So I think you just go and get this guy, and Dion's happy that he goes to a team with some stability, and you feel pretty good about it.
All right.
I don't like the way number 2 looks on a Steeler jersey, though. I can say that.
Stock down.
Do you want to talk about Hampton on the Broncos real quick? I feel like we could breezed by it.
Yeah, no, I mean it's becoming, I feel, a little bit like one of those picks that's every time it's happening, it's an amazing spot.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever back goes to Denver, I feel like it's a great spot, and I feel like a player like Hampton, it's I mean, all systems go. When you're talking about top 20 capital with his skill set and that offense, I mean, that's very exciting.
Absolutely. That's where I'm at, is like, yeah, this is great. This is exactly what you're hoping for with a player like that, where you can just kind of set and forget him in your roster, where he's going to get as many touches as they were giving their random assortment of backs last year. He's just going to get all of them. So this would be the ideal kind of situation. You're looking at, Estime still there.
He is going to have to split carries with Estime.
Yeah.
So.
And Jaleel McLaughlin still there, but in all reality, like, this is just one of the prime time kind of running back spots that you're going to find.
All right, so the Steelers did take Shedeur at 21. So we are on pick 22 with the Chargers. Part of me wants to go wide receiver here. I just don't like the fits with the receivers that are here, because I feel like Golden, I mean, it's not in, like, Ladd and Golden, like, they
can
certainly
coexist.
Can coexist, but I don't feel like, I feel like you want to do a lot of the same stuff.
Yeah, and definitely Egbuka and Ladd are kind of in the same spot in the Venn diagram.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it's out of the question, but it's not my favorite matches. I think
agree.
They can wait.
I kind of want, like, defensive back here, because, like, I don't know
what they do in free agency.
They got Dante Jackson and Benjamin St. Juste, and that's not bad, but, like, I still don't know, outside of Derwin, obviously, if you have, like, a real difference maker in your defensive backfield.
I mean,
Dante Jackson is good. I will say that, but, like,
just take Eamon Wari and have 2 Derwins.
Take Malachi Starks and have 2 Derwins.
There you go.
I'm thinking Jahdae Barron here is what I'm thinking.
I could see it. I'm also thinking about up front, potentially defensive line here, but I don't know. I think, yeah, this is anybody want to trade up? Is there any player on the board that's worth trading ahead of the Packers for?
If you think the Packers are going to take receiver, maybe, but I don't think anybody really thinks that. I don't think there's anybody the Packers are going to take that's worth trading up for.
Yeah.
Who else? Who's after?
Well, the Chargers have Sante Samuel Jr. Is that their nickel?
That's true. Yeah.
So I don't know about Barron here. Safety, I mean, certainly.
They could use another guard. They only have 2 guards on their roster.
They just signed Becton.
Yeah, I guess he's
maybe
a guard. Yeah.
What a weird this team. Is tough. I'm thinking, like,
tight end.
I mean, I would have loved one of the tight ends to be available.
Yeah, I
don't
guess you're
think
not going to
you can take a player like Mason Taylor.
I could take Harold Fannin here.
I mean, don't tempt me, but I'm thinking Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon, and
Okay.
I think I would lean Harmon for them.
I'm okay with that. I mean, I think they could definitely use the interior D line help. Would have liked. I tried to do some sexier Chargers
Yeah,
fans,
no, I get it. I get it.
but
The front's just they're getting older. I mean, I honestly wouldn't hate Edge here either.
that's kind of what I was thinking. Is like they have Mac, they have Tuipulotu, who's quite good and like had a nice season last year, but like Bud Dupree's kind of washed. Mac is getting there, uh, and outside of that, they don't really have much. So like. But I also like Derek Harmon's solid, and he's going to start this year.
All right, let's do that. Let's do Derek Harmon. That just feels like I don't know. That I feel like Harbaugh.
Just feels right.
Yeah, we want big bodies up front. Let's keep pouring them in.
And my least favorite part of the mock.
So here we go. Here we go. This is where we get to dispel any notion that this is going to be a wide receiver.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people like every year. It's like, well, maybe this is the year. It's not. It's not. It's never the year. It's not going to be this year. It's not going to be next year. While Brian Gutekunst is the GM, it's not going to be a wide receiver. They are going to they could take 2 in the second or whatever, like they did that one year. Like we're not going to take a wide receiver. It's going to be a project edge. And so
so that's
project
where
O-lineman.
That's where I'm kind of torn this year. I know it's not a wide receiver. I want to go Georgia defense, but they're both gone. Like Michael Williams, if he falls, you are 100% a Green Bay Packer.
Georgia defense.
So, I mean, if they weren't so strong at safety last year, with I would have loved just rolling the dice on one of these guys, taking a guy like Starks. I feel like my mind here goes to Jahdae Barron.
Goes to Barron. It goes to Hairston for me too.
Yeah, I think Hairston is like the real wild card Packers pick because he is the ultra athletic kind of certainly a reach at this point, especially with a player like Barron on the board. But he did all of a sudden add his name to the.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, why is he coming to the draft if he's not like? It's in Green Bay. They want their guy to be there, obviously, to hold his jersey up. So like, I don't know. That seems kind of fishy. If it's going to be Jahdae Barron, like is he already coming? Like I feel like we're good, but I feel like it makes sense for Hairston to. That's the smoke that's leading to the fire.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that, and I'm not ruling it. I think in the event that like Barron is gone and Michael Williams is gone here, then I really think something as wild as like Hairston could happen here. I just think with Barron on the board, even though you probably like it doesn't make a ton of sense in terms of where they need help at corner. I mean, I don't think Barron is like you couldn't play him outside, but man, it's just
do you want to do with him like, okay, let's just paint the picture of their cornerback room, because outside right now you have Keyshawn Nixon, who just started playing outside cornerback full-time last year. It was pretty solid, not bad. And then you have Jair Alexander, who may or may not be on the team. Like the reports lead to him not being on the team, but that hasn't been corroborated by anything official. And then Eric Stokes left. Ballantyne left. Like I don't even know who the Packers' number 3 corner is right now.
Yeah.
So like I think it's gonna be. Let's see. So Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs. And then Javon Bullard. That's why I'm like, do I want Jahdae Barron to like get bumped outside? Because that's probably what ends up happening, because they signed Hobbs, who's a slot corner. Like Bullard was playing a lot of slot nickel safety, which is like, I have trouble finding Barron but maybe they just bump him outside and like figure it out. Carrington Valentine is like has his moments. I don't know.
What do you think about a player like Walter Nolan? I mean, ultra athletic.
I mean, I'm fine with it. Like they could again they lose some guys in free agency. They have Kenny Clark, who's a good interior D lineman, but like that's kind of it.
Well, and Devontae Wyatt, which is
right.
Again why this is. It's like everything is. I feel like no matter what they do here, if they draft on brand,
yeah,
they are taking a player that is probably at a position that isn't, the utmost need here.
Ezeraku.
I don't know if he's their brand. He's smaller and he's not the best athlete.
Yeah.
I think this is how people land on wide receiver.
Yeah,
I think you spin in circles
Matthew
until
Golden.
you're like, oh yeah.
So he's a 10 RAS.
Yeah.
Let's
lock it in.
Maxwell Harrison.
It's the same problem with Barron. I say Barron.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Barron. It's complicated, but I feel like at this point of the draft, he might be long gone on real NFL draft day at this point. So
no, because this is right. So that's not.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So
this is predicting the future.
Johnny Barron, you will be a Green Bay Packer.
Get ready to learn green and gold, buddy.
The Minnesota Vikings at pick 24. This is one of my favorite fits in the entire draft. If it breaks this way, Nick Emanwari to the Vikings.
They tried to do this with Lewis Cine before his leg exploded. So I'm in.
Like the safety rotations and the Flores defense, get aggressive, play Emanwari as a linebacker.
This is the fantasy guy you want now.
Too. Yeah, this is where it gets scary.
I wouldn't mind Starks here either.
I wouldn't either. But
he's less of a he can't really play linebacker. Yeah, which is what or like edge, which Emanwari is going to be asked to do in that defense.
So the Houston Texans pick 25. I love I love the Emeka Egbuka fit here.
Yep.
I am just so terrified of the idea of them not taking an offensive lineman here.
Their offensive line is terrible.
Like it was. I feel like we've all sort of forgotten or blocked it out of our memory just how awful it was. And yes, I understand that they signed Cam Robinson and
Laken
Tomlinson. I mean, they brought in bodies, but
Trent Brown.
I mean, but like, I don't know, man. It's just
like CJ Stroud was getting his ass whooped every game. And like you look at the sophomore slump that he had, there's a reason for it. It's because he was getting he was running for his life a lot. And I mean his wide receivers were also really hurt. So maybe they just had a wide receiver because they're not gonna have Tank Dell this year and they lose Stephon Diggs to free agency.
Yeah, maybe it is wide receiver.
Let me look. So we got Nico. I think we're taking they signed Christian Kirk. That's a good number 2 guy. Yeah. Is CJ Stroud on the phone saying get Emeka Egbuka and do you listen? That's the question.
They've done it before, but it wasn't in the first round.
Right. So I don't know.
I still love the fit. I think you can play. I mean, Christian Kirk, maybe that seems a little bit redundant if you're planning to play him out of the slot, but
I clicked on Egbuka.
Yeah. All right. I'm in. I'm in just for the let's will this to happen because I want it to happen very badly. Yeah. The Rams at 26.
Is there a linebacker available?
There's been some weird chatter about Schwesinger making it into the late part of the first. I don't know if that is real or if feel comfortable doing that at 26. But
yeah, I just feel like their linebackers were horrible last year. Spates, Reader.
What about a trade down?
Who are we trading with?
Is this a spot where a team just feels compelled to move up for like Starks or?
I was thinking that Starks feels like he's fallen a little bit. Why wouldn't the Rams just take Starks?
Well, they certainly could just take Starks.
Because they have Kinchins, who's solid, Lake, who's solid, but like, do they have a free safety?
I don't know. Kinchin's like flashed enough last year that I don't know. Like in the free safety spot, and Lake's fine. Like Lake's solid, good.
Cam Curl is like whatever.
Yeah, maybe I don't love that as much. Offensive line could be in play here for sure.
Yeah, Steve Avila. I mean, this team kind of stinks. On paper, not loving this team. Got Devontae Adams and Puka. Also, Puka changing his number for Devontae. Stand your ground, man. What are we doing? You're the better player right now.
You're better. All right. I kind of like tackle here. There's a couple. I mean, you have like the home run swing of Josh Simmons available to you. You also have Josh Connerly.
I was thinking interior, like Booker is kind of what I was thinking. But
which gap scheme are they running these days?
Connerly does. The Rams always draft weird. They took Jared first last year. They're just going to take a good player, is what I think. Is like.
So they're going to take Josh Simmons.
I'm okay with that.
Let's see. Yeah. All right, let's go Simmons.
Okay.
Somebody's got to roll the dice. Medical question marks with Simmons, of course.
I'm taking Starks with the Ravens.
Who is the best player on the board? That's who they're going to take. And
exactly.
In this case, that's what I would say.
Like him and fucking Kyle Hamilton. Try to throw. Just like, it's going to be hard.
Who is their free safety right now?
I'm looking. It was not Tony Jefferson. Who's the guy? The guy with the name. Yeah, they don't have anybody. I think they lost him to free agency.
I mean, yeah, I honestly want to do it just because it is the most Ravens.
It makes a ton of sense for their roster, and it's like very on brand Ravens.
Yeah. All right, no fly zone.
No fly zone.
Malachi Starks to the Ravens. The Detroit Lions pick 28.
Do we take Golden here?
It kind of feels like he's got to come off the board here.
I'm looking at what they got going on. They got JMO.
Yeah, but
their corners are really good. Their safeties are really good. They could use.
What about Ezraku?
That's what I was about to say. They could use edge. I wouldn't mind Ezraku across from Hutchinson.
All right, I like that a lot. I think they'll like him a lot too. Washington.
O-line? Question mark?
Could be Booker potentially.
Let's see. They brought in 2 corners. Brought in a D tackle, 2 D tackles. Brought in a safety. Brought in 2 guard. Oh, they brought in Laramie Tunsil. I forgot about that. And Herbig at O-line. So I guess they had a lot of options. Give themselves some flexibility.
What if they took Matthew Golden?
Ooh, that's interesting.
I mean, like Debo is just Debo at this point, and
Yeah.
you McLaurin, you pair him with Golden.
Don't
Debo.
make it so Terry McLaurin doesn't have to run a 9 route every third play. Yeah, I think I'm cool with that.
Down with that. All right,
Yeah,
let's
because
get
they
him
added
up.
a lot in free agency. I think they addressed a lot of needs, and you can attack, because you look at what they needed, and they needed receiving help in those games, some separation, absolutely. So I'd like that a lot for Golden. I think like he doesn't get a ton of targets, but I think that's probably for the best because
I'd love the role he was playing on this team with McLaurin as the no doubt number one option. All right. Matthew Golden, 29. The Bills at pick 30. I don't know what's currently going on with the interior of their defensive line.
I'm looking right now, and we're looking at D tackle is Ogunjobi they brought in, which is nice. Ed Oliver's obviously good.
Yeah.
So there's a couple guys.
I still wouldn't hate Walter Nolan here. I feel like it's good value, and I mean Nolan and Oliver, Ogunjobi, like nice rotation of guys there.
They do rotate a lot on their D line too. They're always kind of fresh, so I'm cool with that. Their edges are like pretty good. Rousseau's all right. They bring in Joey Bosa, so let's go Nolan.
All right. Walter Nolan, 30 to the Bills, 31 to the Kansas City Chiefs. My mind is immediately going to the offensive line, and I'm looking at Josh Connerly staring me in the face to play left tackle for this team. What do you think?
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
Easy as that. And 32 to the world champion Philadelphia Eagles.
This is do they just take like James Pierce and then he's like an all-pro?
That's again very Eagles-esque, and honestly, I'm kind of digging that.
I feel like it makes sense, like a fit wise, and then also like narratively.
Like corner, like Hairston potentially would be an option here. Revel. More, I mean, any of the there's a number of corners here that could go, but
yeah, for the guy that's like, how did the Eagles get this player? Like, who's the most likely in October to look back and be like, how did he fall to 32?
Yeah.
Like, and right. I think it ends up being Pierce.
They were down to take Jalen Carter. They'll be down to take James Pierce at 32.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. And there it is. 32 for 32, trade included.
Oh, yeah.
Ashton Genty, you are a Chicago Bear, one way or another.
Congrats.
But regardless, this is just a lot of fun because it's that time of the year, baby, to have some fun, to sit down and try to parse through, get inside the minds of 32 NFL GMs and try to figure out what the hell am I going to do on the clock. And we're all going to be very wrong, but that's okay because that's the fun of it.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to look back and be like, man, we got 5 correct on this board. And, that's okay. As long as you had a good time and you engaged yourself with the draft enough. Yeah. I think that's the point of all this.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So let us know what you thought. Let us know which picks you loved, hated. Let us know which fits you liked in this mock draft particularly. I'm hoping that we see at least some of these fits for the dynasty rookies that we are interested in here. Obviously I love the Genty fit with Chicago, but hey, if McMillan finds his way to Jacksonville, I'd also like that quite a bit.
Hampton to the
Hampton. God, we kind of cooked with these spots actually.
The only bad one I think, was, what was it, Loveland?
Loveland to the Colts.
No, yeah. Well, we didn't do Loveland to the Colts.
Yeah, we did.
Oh yeah, we did. I was looking at the wrong team.
Yeah. So, but
yeah, I think everyone's right, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, of course. So, well, if you listened to our take on the first round of the NFL draft, two dudes sitting around just having a blast, we appreciate that. We know that this is mostly content for ourselves, but if you stuck around to the end and hung out with us for an hour and a half, we very, very much appreciate that.
And if you're just looking for your teams and you're like,
yeah,
what did my team do? Austin goes out of his way to make timestamps for you, so you can click through and be like, what are, my Cardinals going to do? And then you can just pop there, and we'll have a nice draft board up, and so it'll all be good.
Yeah, check it out on YouTube. Maybe we'll have some fun little camp graphics for you waiting there. I don't know. You'll have to tune in and find out. Or I guess you are listening right now.
So. Yeah, we're at the back end now. So
that's right. That's right. This is
let us know what you think of what you saw.
Right. Oh God, it is draft week, man. My brain is pretty fried. So, if you enjoyed, be sure to find us on Twitter at camp_dynasty and TikTok at camp.dynasty. Most importantly, if you are watching on YouTube with the fun graphics that I just told you to look for, then be sure to subscribe and like the video before you leave if you enjoyed, because we very much appreciate that. It helps us out a lot. And at the same time, if you're on the pod feed, hey, I'm a pod feed person. I know a lot of podcasts have gone video, have gone to YouTube. I still listen to audio only. If you are like me and you're on the pod feed right now, I see you. And also be sure to follow, rate, review, subscribe, and do all of those things before you leave as well, because we appreciate that.
On top of all that, pray for Giannis. Because he needs as much help as he can get right now. He's not getting it from his teammates. So say a quick prayer. Unless you're from Indiana, I understand you got to root for your team, but if not, just say, hey, Giannis, let your teammates make some shots.
Take a quick break from draft coverage. Just think about the Milwaukee Bucs for a second.
All it takes is like 10 seconds. It's just like, hey, let Kyle Kuzma make more than one shot.
Thanks for stopping by Camp Dynasty this week, and we will see you next week.
Post-draft.